Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 30th Board of Selectmen's meeting. Following guidance issued by Charlie Baker regarding open meeting law, this public meeting is being held remotely, and individuals wishing to participate can do so using the Zoom video conferencing. I will start the meeting by taking a roll call vote of the Board of Selectmen. I, Robin Hunter, present.
Bob Springett, present.
John Jeffries here.
All right, so we will start off with the first item of business, which is citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? All right. There being none, should we go to 1.1 and Chris?
Yeah, Robin, so I don't see Bill on here, and he's not in the waiting room.
Okay.
So if it's all right with you, perhaps you could just continue down the list, and then when he joins, we could just get back to him.
Okay, so can we do 1.2?
Yep.
Okay, so why don't we start with 1.2, which is the discussion regarding fiber optic municipal area network and a potential vote.
All right. So this one is me. I think the board might recall when Dave was with us, he had applied for a municipal fiber grant through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for approximately $130,000, which we were awarded. The grant is to fund municipalities' efforts to installing municipal fiber within their infrastructure. So the proposed project for Dover would be to create a fiber network among all of the municipal buildings in the town center of Dover. There's a few benefits of doing something like this. The first is to increase our broadband capacity. It allows us to be able to share information at a faster rate of speed. It also allows us to plan for the future when we get to 6G and 7G and future technology. It ensures that our connectivity is ready for the future. A few other additional benefits are the town is currently connected. The town's network is currently connected via a virtual network, which is essentially just a Wi-Fi connection. Fiber would create a redundant loop where we're also connected. Our buildings are also connected on the network on an actual cable. So there's a lot of great benefits that comes with municipal fiber. There's a lot of communities that are doing this. And the request this evening for the board is to authorize the town administrator to enter into a contract with the firm who's proposed to do the work, Comtrack. This is pretty much the only firm that does this work. They've done it for all the municipalities who have installed it so far, and they've got a suite of municipalities who, like us, were funded through the Commonwealth grant that are going to be installing the work. So that contract's before you. What's nice about this effort is that this is a pretty self-contained effort, and that Comtrack does the entire installation from soup to nuts. So there's not really any project management or staff time needed for us, other than just periodic check-ins to ensure that the work is going along appropriately. And then once the fiber is actually installed on the poles, working with retrofit and then our internet providers to make sure that the connections are turned on. So that's the kind of high level overview of what the effort is. The ask is to have the board again authorize the town administrator to enter into a contract with Comtrack to install the municipal fiber network.
Right, and I see the contract is actually less than the amount of the grant awarded, and I assume the rest of the funds will be used for fees associated with retrofit, hooking things up, or
yeah, there's actually really, the hookup part is actually within our existing retrofit contract. So there's not an additional cost there. The extra monies, which Dave had requested and, smartfully so, was to cover any potential overages that could occur one of the things is the actual fiber itself, the cable is back ordered. And so, by the time that it's actually processed and received, we don't know if there'll be any escalation there. I think it's mentioned in the contract, but any of that escalation will be covered wholly within the grant amount that we received.
Okay, well, I remember discussing this with Dave, and I think it's a huge benefit to having everybody connected in the center of town. So I have no more questions or comments. Bob, John?
No, I'm good.
I think we should make Bob the director of ring topology. How's that?
I want to install the fiber, man.
You could be a topologist.
Well, Bob, maybe you can. So with that, I'm going to move to authorize the town administrator to execute all documents associated with the scope of work and contract between Comtrack Corp and the town of Dover for installation of a fiber optic municipal network.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
I, John Jeffries.
All right. Well, thank you. I think this is going to be hugely beneficial to the town. So I still don't see Paul.
Bill, yeah.
Bill,
If you want to move to the next item,
Right.
I'll just kind of.
I wonder if he.
I'll give him a call and see, remind him we're here.
Yeah, maybe he thinks the meeting is Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Maybe.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the tree preservation plan project contract discussion and a potential vote. And Val, I believe you are going to be making the presentation, you and Laura, is that correct?
Correct.
And I really appreciate you sending the material out earlier. I finally was able to review it, but thank you, it was very informative. So I'll turn it over to both of you.
Okay, so I'll just give a very brief background about the committee and then about the grant that we are asking for approval for tonight. So the committee, which we're calling the Dover Tree Preservation Committee, came about from some comments that we received from a variety of Dover residents who were concerned about clear cutting and some of the tree removal that was happening in Dover that seemed a little bit out of line with historically what has happened here in Dover. So, and there were discussions both on social media as well as emails and conversations directly with planning board members as well as the Conservation Commission. So we thought it would make sense to put a committee together to kind of look into this a little bit. So some of the things that this committee will be doing is looking at the current bylaws that Dover has that talks about tree preservation and addresses that, as well as looking at what communities outside of Dover have and how they've addressed this, as well as any enforcement issues and administrative issues that they might have run into. And then deciding what kind of an education program to put forward for Dover. And then finally, if there needs to be any bylaw adjustments made. So one of the ways that we're hoping to do this is to work with a consulting company program. And so tonight what we're presenting is a contract that we've received, and Laura, I'll have you jump in at any point, from the Conway School that will be working with us to accomplish our goals. So the three kind of key points that they're going to be focusing on will be conducting research, which is looking at existing bylaws and then outside communities. They will help us engage with public forums to kind of understand the awareness and the understanding that our community has. So any education gaps that we can fill. And then finally making recommendations about where we can make adjustments in our bylaws. And Laura, is there anything that you would like to add to that? Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks. No, I think you put it really well, Val. The grant that we're using for this this contract is something that Courtney Starling had applied for and received on behalf of the town back in the spring. And it's nice to have some money available for something like this. So I did contact several small consulting firms, and the information I got back was at first not very encouraging. One of the people that I got in touch with was Michael Zahner, who used to be the planning director for the town of Wellesley that has a pretty advanced tree bylaw. He's now working for a consulting firm in Virginia. He would have held a couple of Zoom meetings and worked on a bylaw, but there wouldn't have been much back and forth between the town and the consultant. And the second one was someone who was going to do a different type of zoning, and he was going to asking for more money than what the town had received in this grant. And the third one was the Conway School. So the Conway School, I think, looked really interesting to the planning board because there was a feeling that when you ask people to start looking at trees that they can't cut down on their own property or that are adjacent to them that they might want to have removed, when you ask people to start considering whether or not those trees should actually be preserved, that could be kind of a big step for people. So rather than jump into something like that, I think the planning board felt that we should do some education first and really see whether the town wanted to go forward with something like this. I mean, when you drive through Dover, to me, the trees are something that really comes out as, one of the really beautiful features about the town. So I think it's very worthwhile that they are looking into this. And I don't know if there's any more information that you need about how we came to work with the Conway School.
I was just wondering, do you know of anybody else that has worked with them? The Conway School? It was certainly an interesting solution. I read their letter. I thought it did include a lot of the contract, but I was just wondering, because they're a landscape architect school, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I actually worked with them back quite a while ago to do some visioning for the town of Scituate, where I had worked previously. And the people that were involved in that aren't with the Conway School anymore.
Okay.
But I was impressed by the quality of the work that they did.
Well, it's good that you have, firsthand experience. I thought the proposal was very inclusive. I like the community engagement aspect of it. I was somewhat surprised by that because I was expecting somebody just to sort of write a bylaw for us and say, here's something you should adopt and this is why. So I really commend the planning board for going this route. Bob or John, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I went through the information that was applied and talked to Val a bit on, I guess it was Tuesday. I'm going to make a plug for a tree preservation project that I was impressed with the slides. I was impressed with the enthusiasm, and I was impressed with the members. And I would hope that these people would help us with hail, because if you want to talk about tree preservation, you got
that's a good
370
point.
plus acres.
Yeah.
And Val promised me that all the people who are the 8 members of this committee, including our high schooler, is going to help John make sure that everybody in Dover knows the importance of preserving hail. Other than that, I'm good.
No, that's a great thought, Bob. Leveraging
Yeah, look, Val's going yes.
Right.
Well,
I
I
like
mean,
that.
to your point, Bob, it certainly talks about the value of tree preservation, which
Right.
historically has always been something that the folks here in Dover have certainly recognized. So I do think it supports it.
Right, and I completely agree with Laura. You know, you drive into Dover and it's sort of a different feel.
It has a different feel, Robin. You're
Right.
absolutely right, Val. Absolutely. I should say Laura. Yeah, absolutely right.
It is always one of the top 3 or 4 things when we poll our constituents and ask people what our priorities should be. Open space preservation, always. If you ask education, open space, fiscal responsibility, water, resources, it all ties together. And I think it's the perfect timing, because one of the things that we really do need help with, the planning board needs help with, is enforcement. How in Wellesley, you all know, I lived in Wellesley for 20 years. Enforcement in trees is very strict. You are fined by the inch of the diameter of the tree, and the fines are restrictive, and they're meant to be that way, because it's meant to prevent people from, just as Val alluded to in your presentation, clear cutting lots. And it's also not meant to be restrictive in a way that you cannot cut a tree down if you want to have an addition to your home, or you want to build a garage, or you want to, you want to do something to your property that's in keeping with what you're able to do. The bylaws have got to be addressed, and it's the perfect time to do that, because it's all coming together on our plate at exactly this time. So I also just want to, Valerie, echo what Bob said. The presentation was great. Thank you for the material up front, and I completely support this.
Okay.
Robin, on a motion?
Yep, so then I'm going to move to approve the contract between the Conway School and the town of Dover for tree preservation, education, and planning.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
Hi, John Jeffries.
And I see Bill Solomon has joined, but what I think I'm going to do is, because it kind of ties to this, is just move forward with item 1.4 and then go back to item 1.1. So item 1.4 is to discuss a waiver regarding Angela Lynn's appointment to the Dover Tree Preservation Committee and a potential vote. And Laura and Val, the 2 of you are going to make this presentation as well.
Sure, thank you. I think Angela Lynn or her father John might be on. I know they were planning on attending tonight, but as part of our committee, we really wanted to engage the younger generation. And we thought it would be a real benefit to have someone from the high school working with us on this committee and bringing their perspective to this. So I reached out to Dawn Fattori, who is part of the high school sustainability program. And she passed along the opportunity to the students, and Angela Lynn was one of them who responded. And so I'll give a very brief introduction of her. So she is a junior at the Dover Sherburne High School, and she's been very involved in climate change activities. And she has been a leader in the school's sustainability task force and has educated middle school students on environmental issues, worked with them to plan service projects, collaborated with the Dover Sherburne Regional School Administration to make upgrades to the schools, such as the bathrooms more water efficient. Last year, she was part of a group of students who wrote and passed a climate emergency declaration in Sherburne. She also has been active outside of the Dover Sherburne area. She has been involved in the Massachusetts Sierra Club Forest Protection Team and is a leader of their education subcommittee. And as part of that, she has edited articles for the Sierran and developed the Forest Protection Team's webpage. She's very interested in serving on our committee. I think she would be a fantastic addition. And so I hope that you will all support in providing her with a waiver so that she can participate in our committee.
So I feel as though we've always had a lot of success when we include the high school students in our committees. They're very passionate. They really do add value. So I am really supportive of this. Bob or John?
I'm good.
I think it's a great idea.
Technical skills.
Great,
Right,
great,
it's-
great idea. Highly support it. And Valerie Hale had a big event this weekend, about 400 participants. About 100 of the participants were high school age kids and younger. It was a big mountain biking event at Hale, all the way into Noanet, and it was really, really well attended. I was amazed at how many high school and younger
Yeah.
attendees there were. So really excited about this, and I think it's great.
Thank you.
All right, so then I move to waive the requirement that Angela Lynn be a registered voter and allow her to serve on the Tree Preservation Bylaw Committee effective November 21st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
John Jeffries.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we're
you.
going to appreciate your presentation, and we'll move on to the next item of business. Thank you. You're more than welcome to stay, but we understand if you don't. So,
I'm going to hang out for a little bit.
oh, good.
Thank
So-
you, Laura.
Oh, thank
Thanks,
you.
Val.
So we are going to go back to item 1.1. And I see we have Attorney Solomon on the phone, and we are going to be talking about the cable licensing proceedings with Comcast of Massachusetts and New Hampshire and the town of Dover. So Bill, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Actually, a video, and thank you very much, Madam Chair. We have here, as discussed a few weeks ago, the Comcast license renewal, as you had indicated. This is a 10-year agreement that was reached between the parties. Instrumental in reaching this was Mike Klein of Dover Sherburne Community Television, the executive director, who really laid out a tremendous ascertainment and capital plan for moving forward that served as the basis, largely the basis of the important aspect of this license, which is the capital grant for the next 10 years, paid over a 10-year period. So if you'd like, what I can do is just briefly go over the license summary, if you'd like. Just a few
That would
minutes.
be great.
If I could get the chance to put it on the screen, that might be helpful, if you'd like, or not.
I don't have the power to give you powers to screen share.
Okay.
But
It's okay.
Chris
you have-
may.
I can bring it up for, I can do,
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
I can take care of you here.
Great.
Good. Bill, you can start. Well,
Good.
Chris,
Okay.
you
Thank you. Well, as I said, a 10-year term. It runs from January 1st, 2023 to December, actually, to say 31st, 2032. Comcast subscribers at the end of last year in Dover, 714 subscribers. The PEG access, which is public educational and government access, community television, annual support remains at 5% of the cable operators or its affiliates' gross annual revenues. And that 5% is the maximum allowed under the federal law of Cable Act.
Bill, you're all set if you want to bring it up.
Oh, okay, sure. The capital support is $125,000 over the 10-year period, paid in 10 installments of $12,500 beginning on February 1st, 2023. That's a very strong capital payment. It reflects the fact that Greg Franks, the government affairs government manager, senior manager for Comcast, who knows Dover well at this point at Dover Cable, and Comcast, have come to know and understand the importance of community television, PEG access in Dover, particularly during the COVID pandemic period and since that time with increased hybrid meetings like here today. And that's one of the stronger capital payments in the Commonwealth, reflecting that need and interest. PEG access channels continue to have 3 standard definition PEG access channels: the public, the educational, and government access. And within 24 months, there'll be an additional high definition PEG access channel. PEG access Cable casting will continue from the studio, Dover Sherburne Community Television Studio at the high school, and continue to have live origination from the townhouse. I'm going to check one other item here. Just to, do that. Moving forward, there will also be an upgrade of the standard definition channels, those 3 channels within the same 24 months, to what's called SDI format, serial digital interface. And that will allow those standard definition channels to have a greatly improved video and also improved audio. Together with the high definition channel will allow coverage, particularly on the government side, involving documents, coverage where documents and information will be placed on the screen and readable for people at home. That makes a big difference. And on the public side, there are certainly videos and live cable casting where the improved video makes a difference in terms of people catching people's eye and people staying with it in a world where all video has people get used to a higher level of high definition video. Cable service to public buildings for a number of reasons, including an FCC order 3 years ago. We now deal with that in effect outside of the license. Rather than included in the cable license, the free service to public buildings and school buildings were silent in the license. Comcast now provides that. I don't see them stopping that. And by dealing with outside of the license, it gets around some of the complications of the financial complications that otherwise would have arisen under this FCC order. Cable service availability. Everyone that now has cable service, every area that has cable service available will continue to have that. And in Dover, down here, in Dover, the density requirement to build out further, if there were other areas where it developed, would require 10 dwelling units per aerial mile if the area is served by cable above ground, or 20 dwelling units per underground mile. Those are low density requirements for a town that has a density requirement. If you're closer to Boston, there are places that have no density requirement, but given the nature of Dover and the open space, the 10 and 20 are on the very low end of what you see for density requirements in a cable license. That doesn't mean that Comcast wouldn't build on its own to an area that didn't meet that density requirement. It just means that they're required to if that density requirement met. And of course, town also has Verizon that'll be coming up soon for the renewal. And you know, in some cases, one company might decide to build and not the other. But the town so far has a situation where everywhere that Comcast has built, Verizon has built. The standard drop, which is a standard price for the cost of going from the road, from the cable on the road to the home, at a standard rate, $40, $50 for installation. That standard installation drop is 250 feet for, and I should take a look. That has to be like that. It's 250 feet for aerial, and let me just double check on the underground. And 150 feet, that's correct, for underground installation. Anything over that, Comcast would have a choice to charge the home, although the first 250 feet always is a no charge, even if the distance is longer. And the first 150 feet is always a no charge beyond the standard charge, and the only charge would be above 150 feet for an underground installation. The senior discount is something that's voluntary under the Cable Act. Comcast provides it. Verizon, for instance, doesn't. But oftentimes, a second provider in town does not provide a senior discount. in that sense, it's positive that they provided. The downside is that that discount is only $2 off their extra or digital starter service that has not come up for a while. And there are financial qualifications, as we discussed last time. In Dover, there's a wider range of means by which someone could prove financial need, and that would include the state program for tax abatements that people get in communities and fuel assistance, which are not typically found in senior discount letters across the Commonwealth. So no one has a higher senior discount. No one has a better means to qualify for that senior discount. But and again, it is very modest, although voluntary. The PEG Interactive Program Guide, as we discussed before, in cable, as you know, there's an electronic program guide, and that means that you can set your digital recorder or computer to tape a show going forward, and you can also see what the schedule is for PEG access in the days going forward. All commercial channels are part of the program guide. PEG channels have not been. Dover now has the best letter that's out there with respect to the PEG Interactive Program Guide, electronic program guide, which is to say that for a 6-year period, if the town can have Comcast come to a meeting and discuss the technical and financial feasibility, but also very important, the placement of that guide on the Comcast Dover cable system. This is something that I understand that Comcast is looking at providing in the Commonwealth. They generally, when they roll something out, like they did with the HD channel, they generally roll it out throughout their service area. But oftentimes what happens is they'll expect the town to wait to the next renewal if they're in the middle of renewal. I believe what this letter does is allows the town through the conversation, having Comcast coming to the meeting, to have an excellent chance of obtaining the electronic program guide mid-license if that's the general approach taken by Comcast throughout the Commonwealth. And that could be something they could do in 3 or 4 years. So rather than waiting 6 or 7 years for the electronic program guide, I believe Dover is in an excellent position, particularly given Comcast's approach to meeting the needs of its customers and to getting that far earlier than would otherwise be possible without that side letter. So that in some substance is the nature of the license. It's a strong license on the dollars. It's a strong license with respect to its legal protections and policy protections of the town's right of way, not only now, but going forward. It doesn't have provisions that sometimes appear in a cable license where a cable company might try to get an advantage about the world as they see it going forward. This rather is a cable license that allows Comcast to provide the service at the same time funding community television, which not only is of great importance to the town, as you've discussed, but also is of great importance to Comcast as part of their total package. You happy to answer any questions? Of course, you want to hear from the public also.
Thank you, Bill. I think this is a very fair contract or renewal. So I don't really have any additional comments or questions. Do you, Bob or John?
No, I think with this presentation tonight and all the questions we asked Bill last week or 2 weeks ago, rather.
It was a while ago. I think it was a month ago.
Yeah.
Seems like it was just yesterday, Bill.
Right.
It does.
Right. So we appreciate you getting it across the finish line for us, Bill. So with that, I am going to make the motion. So I hereby move that the board.
Well, we do want to hear from the public first, though, to hear from the public.
Right. Do we have any public comments? All right. Thank you for the reminder, Bill. I'm
Thank you.
so used to having public comments at the beginning that I completely forgot. So I hereby move that the board as cable television licensing issuing authority vote as follows. 1, to grant the subject cable television renewal license with the license renewal term of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2032 to Comcast of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, LLC, Inc., Cable, herein known as Comcast. All terms and conditions contained in the renewal license have been agreed to by Comcast. Comcast by and through its authorized representatives shall execute the renewal agreement as set out on the signature page of the renewal license. And 2, to recognize and acknowledge the following 2 side letters from Comcast, signed by Comcast Senior Manager of Government and Regulatory Affairs, Gregory Franks, and dated November 3rd, 2022. 1, PEG Interactive Program Guide, and 2, Senior Citizens Discounts letter. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
Hi, John Jeffries.
And again, Bill, thank you very much for all your efforts on this. It's been a long haul, but we appreciate it.
Thank you. Just one final comment, if I could, on my end. One is I wanted to make note of, again, of Greg Franks, the Comcast Government Affairs representative. As I said, you'd ask Google or Facebook to come to the townhouse, no one would show up. But Comcast is there, and he's one of the best. He's a tough negotiator for Comcast, but also understands the importance of this and to the town. And we wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for Greg's back and forth and working with the town to get this done. I also wanted to thank departed now, but Dave Sullivan, who was intimately involved with Dave Sullivan, my client, and myself at many meetings. And Dave was the person who organized that and made sure it moved forward and taken over then, of course, by Chris, having done a number of items, work projects at Dover. There's not a project that Chris isn't an integral part of the decision making and the moving it forward with I was always outstanding questions and answers when we need the town to tell you what it thinks. And so I want to thank all of those folks for everything they did, and I appreciate the help on it.
Right, and again, we thank you as well for helping us move all of this along. I think at the end of the day, Comcast is a big company, and I agree with you. Just the fact that they were willing to sign a side letter is also normally not the kind of service that you get from larger companies.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It began as a small company, and they still have that outlook, and that's great. And local government to them means something, and we appreciate it. So thank you all for your kind thoughts. We have one more to go. The Verizon license coming up in the not distant future.
Well, that's good news.
And so and then maybe one more wireless and telecommunications is what Dover does well, and I appreciate the chance to work with you.
Well, we're lucky to have you guiding us through the process. So thank you very much, Bill.
And happy holidays, Bill. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
So the next item of business is item 1.5, and Mr. Jeffries, I believe I'm going to turn it over to you to appoint the Board of Selectmen membership size committee members. Wow, that's a mouthful.
That is
The membership size committee members.
I am scrolling to find. So I have.
It's on page 108.
109 or 110 or something like that.
It starts at 108.
8. Got it. So, thank you, Robin. And I'm very pleased to report this evening that we have made great progress on this on this committee and the charge of the committee. So the following: David Perez, Kate Canny, Jim Dolly, Laverne Lovell, Mark Sorrow, and I am missing, who did sorry, move to appoint David Perez, Kate Canny, Jim Dolly, Laverne Lovell, Carolyn Ringel, Mark Sorrow to act as the membership study committee. Go back to following individuals as members of the Board of Selectmen Membership Size Study Committee effective November 30, 2022.
So it's the 5 members and then you, and what about James Stewart? Is he part of this or?
Myself and James.
Okay.
So
So,
it's a 7-member committee with the addition of the selectman liaison and the town administrator liaison as non-voting members.
okay,
Correct.
So it should be 7 standing members, not including the town administrator or board of selectmen member.
Correct.
so it's David Perez, Kate
Kate,
Canny, Jim
Jim.
Dolly, Laverne Lovell, Carolyn Ringel.
Mark Sorrow.
Okay.
You want a second?
Right.
I'll second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
Hi, John Jeffries.
Right. Hey, John, this is a great committee. You have people, you really found individuals who have experience within town government and who've experienced Dover. So I think this is really great.
I gotta say one other thing, Robin, with regards to that, because we tried to get former selectmen. First 2 people I reached out to were Jim Dolly and Candace McCann.
Okay.
And Candace agreed to do this, to be a part of the study. And I may come back and ask for her to be a advisor to this study. But unfortunately, Candace doesn't live in Dover anymore.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And so Candace, unfortunately, doesn't qualify to be a
Right.
member. And I feel really, really bad about that because I had a great conversation with her. We had great interaction, as I did with everybody who agreed to it. We had about 13 conversations with people who expressed an interest in it. And we have a really, really great cross-section. I was just really disappointed about Candace because she brings a level of expertise and she's a former selectman. She's been through the process. She understands what the roles and responsibilities are. And she's got a great personal perspective of how these things work. And it's just unfortunate that we don't have that ability under our bylaws. So.
Right. But, I commend you for getting so many volunteers.
Well,
What size Colt did you use, John? Was it the 45?
we cannot have those conversations. Those are frowned upon.
Right.
So
So we are going to move along. We are going to thank members of that committee and we look forward to getting updates and ultimately a recommendation from the committee. And with that, I'm going to move to item. Yes, Bob.
I would also like to thank anyone else who had submitted their names for consideration for the committee.
Right.
And that's important that we make sure that we have, full representation and all those who are willing to do so. Thank you.
yeah,
Agreed.
that's a really good point, Bob, because there's a lot of people who had lots of different interests. There's a lot of special interest groups that wanted to be represented. and we try to find a balance between parents that had school age children that had preschool, in two particular cases have preschool, and then people who've been through Dover for have raised their kids, gone through Dover, have been here for many years. So I think we have a really good cross section and a really good balance. So they're all excited to get to work. So my plan, Robin, is to again have a conversation with everyone, have a just an open Zoom meeting with everyone. I'm going to have a conversation with Chris and to vet the Candace, if she can be, how can she work with us, and then obviously ask her if she's interested in that type of a role. So I just want to be careful about that, obviously, and do it, from the standpoint that we're under the bylaw, that we're allowed to do it. So.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So with that, I'm going to move to item 1.6, which is the community center building project and additional service contract and a potential vote. And Chris, I believe you're going to be presenting this, although I do see Phil and a couple of members of the building committee on the line.
Yeah, Phil can actually just jump right in.
Sure. So Collier submitted the OPM fee proposal to kind of move ahead with the direction given last Monday at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. So the fee proposal is a three-part fee proposal. Part one is the effort required to kind of go from now to a June town meeting. So managing the designer through the VE effort, re-engaging with consultants like geotech engineer, material testing agent, and hazmat consultant to get them back engaged in their contract that we had set up prior to the first bid process, go through the contractor pre-qualification process, bidding process, and then assist with the community outreach and town meeting process in June. So that's $115,000. Part two is our rates have increased. And so with the construction process going from a duration of starting in 2022 to ending in 2023 to now starting in 2023 and ending in 2024, that's that rate increase of $40,000. And then part three is the effort that we put in, and this is a fee that's essentially been paid, but it should be contractually amended into the contract. So from August through November, the time spent on assisting and trying to understand next direction for the project, and then leading up to the past June GC bid, the design process got extended a month to make sure our bid documents were bid ready, and then the bid process through hearing from bidders that we should give them more time because of the other projects out on the street at that time, and doing what we could to have a competitive bidding environment. We extended the bid period a month, so that's 2 additional months. So that part three is the $57,000. So the grand total on the fee proposal is $212,000.
And so forgive me, it's been a very long day. So this doesn't include the actual rebidding of the project, right? These are just.
No, it does.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
But what is excluded is any design work that the architects need to do.
Right. No, they're going to submit their own fee proposal.
Okay.
Yeah. And they'll send that to us. We'll review it and have a back and forth with them if it seems out of line or out of whack. But yes, and then if we see that it seems fair and reasonable, we would send a recommendation letter to Chris or to the board.
Okay. It just seems like a whole lot of money to me, but I also understand it's a lot of it appears that it's a lot of time and effort as well. Bob, John?
I guess part of my problem with remaining part of the problem is that we're in this situation and rebidding and things like that, partially because the construction documents were a month late, and partially because the OPM decided to extend the bid process, and we got our bids back into the town in mid or late June, putting us in a pretty awkward spot. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that there should be some consideration given to the fact we have to do this again. The OPM and the architect certainly have a little bit of mud on their skirts, and maybe there should be some financial consideration given to the town for that.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement.
You
So
did the construction documents weren't late?
No, I don't think us going out to bid a month later than we were anticipating has anything to do with poor performance by the design team or the OPM.
I didn't say it was poor performance, Phil. I said it was late.
Oh yeah, so I guess let me just kind of finish what I'm saying, and maybe the statement you made, maybe I misread it, but I thought it was pretty strong. But no, I would say what happens is when you get to a bid time frame a month after than you were anticipating, generally speaking, it's because the initial stages of design were a little more cumbersome than they needed to be. And that's kind of what happened once we got to the March timeframe of when we were hoping going out to bid.
How so, Phil?
What's that?
How were they more cumbersome than they needed to be?
Sure. So as it relates to building material selection, making sure the design layout was what it needed to be, making sure the gym size is what it needed to be, so on and so on. And it just so happened because of all that kind of had a domino effect. And instead of bidding early March, we bid late March. And then when we were in the bid process, honestly, that was us reacting to what we were hearing from bidders. We had a bid duration of 2 months, which is very standard. But because the amount of competing projects that were out there that these public contractors bid on, we in 1 and 2, we knew at that point, well, it doesn't seem like we're hitting the market at a good point. It seems like numbers are going up. Let's try to do what we can to appease getting these bidders to produce a good number and give them more time to produce a good number. So that was that extension to the bid process. Well, I should say that was half of the extension to the bid process, to the bid extension. The other half was Collier's vetting the low bidder, seeing that they were unresponsible per Massachusetts bid laws, unresponsible bidder, and recommending to the Community Center Building Committee to deem them unresponsible. And all the back and forth required to go through with the coordination with the AG's office and making sure that decision was going to be deemed an appropriate decision in the event that low GC bidder chose to protest. So that was the extension of the bid process.
I get that, and thank you for the explanation. It's very clear. And what I took by your comment of cumbersome meant that there was something on our end. What you've just described is the exact opposite. There was nothing on our end. There was nothing in this process that we, the town of Dover, could control. That what you just described are all things out of our control. So, do we, what recourse, Bob's word, what recourse do we have? You've got a bidder that bid and was deemed unresponsive or unacceptable. I apologize, I don't remember the exact word, but was not qualified, right? So that person's out. If that person caused us your word domino to be the first domino to fall, second domino, whatever the case may be, don't we have some recourse to that person, to that company?
Well, that guy was supposed to be vetted.
No, so I guess the first part of my reply, John, would be so step one is, so the first month extension was prior to bid. And that was just the design process was a cumbersome design process. That's not the building committee's fault. That's not the design team's fault. That's not the OPM team's fault. That's just how the process went to make sure we were creating a design that seemed to fall in line with what the voters voted on back in June of 2021. So that was the first 3 to 4 week extension and why the bid process started a month later than it should have. And then the second month extension was, yes, that whole bid process. So to answer your question of does that low bidder owe us a month fee? No, they do not.
Well,
Why?
I still think
Why
that.
not?
John's
We don't have
point-
any contractual agreement with that low bidder.
No,
No, I
I get
understand
that,
that,
but
John's point was the town didn't do anything wrong, but the town's expected to pay full boat second time through. When the architect, for whatever reason, and the process ran longer than planned, and put us in an awkward position when this stuff came into town. What I think that we should have some sort of discount on the charges that you propose to send us again for repeating that work, where there's culpability on not the town's part. And normally if you're dealing with what I deal with contractors and thing goes, oops, the people that I'm dealing with generally make some sort of concession to me and other clients in order to sort of recognize that there was some culpability that leads to this whole second exercise. That's all. And if that's not the practice in Colliers, then fine.
No, what I would say is if we felt there was culpability with the issue that we fell into, we would gladly have a conversation, Bob. I think you and I are in a disagreement as to the culpability part of things.
Well, I can tell you the town wasn't late, right? The town wasn't late. The architect was late. The process went longer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but the town wasn't late. And so I do think that between the Colliers and the architect, there should be some consideration for a discount on the second go round. But that's just me speaking. So, Robin, sorry.
No, my apologies. I had to take that call. Again, I agree. The process went later. The fact that we didn't get the bids back until June put us in a position where it was very difficult to have a town meeting and move forward. But at the end of the day, we have our backs against the wall here because we have committed to the town that we're going to move forward on this project. And we need to sign these contracts to do that. So I think in an effort to move the project forward and continue to work as partners with Colliers and the architect, perhaps the town, Colliers, and the architect could have a conversation about getting some relief in some of the fees going forward.
Bill, what do you suggest we do differently to avoid being in this situation the next time?
Well, so the value engineering process needs to be as streamlined as possible because
What does that mean? That's a vague term. What does that mean?
So let me finish and I think I'll get there, but please jump in if I don't. So there's 17 scopes of work on the value engineering list that we have to make modifications to these bid docs to make sure they're bid ready in 3 months with holidays mixed in there. So we got to just get to work. We, meaning OPM, designer, engineers, probably going to facilitate conversations with cost estimator to make sure cost savings we think we're going to get, we're actually potentially going to get. So updates required to a building committee or board of selectmen. As efficiently as that process can be, that will go a long way. And 1 and 2, in the event the value engineering results. So let's say we find out. So for example, BH+A in their peer review looked at the HVAC design and said, yeah, there's got to be $40,000 of savings in that. And they listed out some stuff. We got to confirm that's accurate. In the event we find out it's not, we're going to have to try to get some type of facilitate some conversation with you all to confirm, okay, understood, it's only a 10K savings, but still do it, or whatever that turns into. So the big thing with what we're entering into right now, John, is making sure we can hit a bid date of, we have March 1 to go live with our bid docs. So that's step 1. And then once we're in the bid phase, because we got our back against the wall with needing time for getting the GC bid done, vetting the GC bid, and we know how that was, 6 months ago or whatever it was, needing time to go through that and then posting and advertising for the special town meeting, we literally have to be out to bid March 1 and get to not extend that bid process during that process. That'll be the two items.
Okay,
So, that's a very good point. And Bob, as the liaison of the Board of Selectmen to the building committee, at the last meeting, the chair of the building committee asked, what's our role and how can we help? And so what I would charge you with is coordinating communication between Phil, the building committee, so that decisions can get made very quickly. And if need be, we could easily hold extra meetings to make sure that we're all up to speed and can move things along.
To that end, Robin,
You put yourself on mute, but it's kind of good.
I'm going to get to that end. I'm having a meeting with Ford tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay. And then, Phil, I'm not sure if you're aware, but our town administrator has resigned effective January 7th. So we're also going through a time of flux. We do have an interim town administrator. Do we have, is that official? We do have an interim town administrator, but we are looking to you as well to make sure that if we're not being responsive, I ask that you reach out to Bob so that we can ensure, because things may get lost in the shuffle as we try and cover all of our openings.
Understood.
Phil, my frustration is I view you as our guy, and as the
He is that guy. He's wearing a blue shirt. It's the color of Dover.
I view you as you're our guy. You're the guy that is the filter by which all of this flows through. And if you feel that 17 value engineering points there's 8 of those 17 that are just not going to be financially worth our time to go through. Where I got to in our last conversation last week was, Phil, if you're saying, our task is then to go back to our constituents and say, we need $80 more per household per year. That's what we've got to break it down to. We know what we've got. We know where we've got. We need to know how to get to where we need to be in the most efficient manner. And you've got to help us steer the ship. You've got to say to us, ladies and gentlemen, that those 8 value engineering points are not gonna move the needle. Let's eliminate them for these reasons. And so we can make that process more efficient.
Yeah, and I'll do that. We just don't know enough right now to say that to you. We got to dig into these HVAC modifications, plumbing modifications. They brought up electrical we got to dig into that to understand, okay, maybe there is something there, or we'll find out we're not seeing what they're seeing. So no, that will happen, and it'll get done within the 3 months it needs to get done. But when you ask me, what are my thoughts as it relates to making sure we get bid ready in 3 months, that's the stuff I think about.
I got it. And what we need your help and your guidance with is we got to be in a better position next time, so we're not in this position we're in right now. And call it cumbersome, call it a turn of events, whatever term that we want to use, it really doesn't matter, because we've got to be on time. We're in a very tight window. And if that means for you to stand up and say to the building committee or to whomever, don't go down those particular roads, you got to say that, because we're limited in time, and we need to know that there's real tangible value in whatever those value engineering items are.
Understood.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Bob, is that sort of along the lines of what you were?
Yeah, it's pretty good. They pretty much spot on. Yep.
So I assume we need to vote on this.
Yeah, there's a motion.
Yep, so then I move to authorize the town administrator to execute all documents related to the additional services letter of agreement between Collier's project leader and the town of Dover.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
All right, Bob, got your work cut out for you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Thank
All
you,
right.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Have a good night.
Yep, thank you. So the next item of business is the Board of Selectmen's updates. And looking at the agenda, so as I alluded to or mentioned in the last segment, it is our town administrator is going to be leaving us on January 7th. And we will have plenty of time to thank him for all of his efforts. We understand, you know, the need for him needing to be closer to his family at this time. And we're sad to see him go. We certainly appreciate everything that Chris has done and the leadership he's shown through the town, and even the way he's going to help us through this transition. So the next couple of, the month of December is going to be very busy for us as a board. We were able to get an interim town administrator. Carl Valente will be working with us in that capacity again, but at the same time, we have some key vacancies in the town that need to be filled. So we really need to focus on the assistant town administrator and also finding a search firm that we want to work with to help us recruit for our new town administrator. And I think we all committed to getting all of that done. Not the hiring of the new town administrator, but the hiring of the search firm and making sure we understand the role of the assistant town administrator in the month of December. So I think we have a lot of work in front of us so that we can move forward efficiently as possible.
Well said, Robin. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I want
But
to
Chris,
know,
we're not letting you off the hook. It's 20-hour days until January 7th.
is Bob paying for the fireworks for what Chris's going away party?
He mentioned he was going to.
I absolutely have something up my sleeve.
That's
John.
what
I would be worried.
I heard him say. I think you should be worried. So, yeah, there's really nothing to add, Chris, and we all understand the reasons, and you have our complete support individually, collectively. We're so sad to see you go, but we completely understand it and admire the decision that you're making, and we're supporting you in any way that we can. So it means a lot to us.
And I'd just like to emphasize the generosity that you're showing to help us during this transition and your availability. I mean, it's going to go a long way. Continuing, you know, the kind of work that you've done and really teeing us up to be able to continue to move the town forward on the critical items. Much appreciated. And as other people have said, we completely understand. And to try to support you in any way that we possibly can. So thank you.
And we also thank the rest of the remaining townhouse staff for, you know, really putting in the extra hours and doing whatever needs to get done to help us once again get through this period. And if we all pull together, we'll all get through it.
You're right. Absolutely.
And we're going to invite you to the grand opening of the Carroll Community Center, since you were a big part of this, of the new community center. I keep calling it the Carroll.
Yeah, I think they call them, I think that the working title is Dover Community Center.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
I think there's naming rights available depending.
There are
upon-
naming rights available.
Is Gillette still in Massachusetts, or they move?
Still in Massachusetts. So there's naming rights available. The Valerie Lynn Recreation Facility, I think, has a beautiful
Community
name.
Center.
The Lynn Family Community
All
Center.
right. So, Bob, do you have any updates?
Just the update was I'm meeting with Ford tomorrow to pick up
Perfect.
that role. Otherwise, no, I don't. And it's a 10-digit check, Val. Not counting decimals.
John, do you have any?
I did, Robin, just real quickly with regards to Hale. Obviously, the main point of for me tonight was the committee, the Selectmen Study Committee. Hale had a little over 340 attendees to their event on Sunday, and it was really, really well done.
Oh, good.
The amount of publicity involvement, the number of Dover, Westwood people, really substantial, and it's definitely got a lot of support. And it's a matter of
Getting the word out.
Bob alluded to this earlier during this transition period in this area to be able to reach out to Val, to reach out to the people that Val is putting together for this committee. Obviously, open space and Amy being a very, very important part, and people like the Hunt. And, there's the Poissets, the trustees of the reservation. It's the time of year when everybody is renewing their membership. There's lots of there's just been lots of support and lots of interest in really helping in a number of different ways. So we're trying to harvest all of this at the same time, using all these groups simultaneously, and building that core constituency that gets us to where we want to be.
Gets us to yes, John.
Yeah, gets us
Right.
to yes. Really is amazing how many young people were at the event.
Well, that's great. All right. So I think those are all of our updates. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you to give us. I feel as though we've had meetings every day.
We
for a
have
week.
had meetings.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. That's
It has.
Sure. I appreciate the board's kind words about my transition. As you know, and as I've shared, it was an extremely difficult decision for me to make, and I was hoping that I'd have much longer time together with the community, but life happens. Yeah, I'll save all the sentimental goodbyes for a later date. But I do, I just wanted to say thank you for the words this evening, and certainly your friendship and support and professionalism and leadership over the past 3.5 years. It's been instrumental in any success that I've had in the community. So much appreciated. As it relates to transition planning, a couple of things I just wanted to update you on. First, I've been working, with Mr. Valente on putting together, or really refreshing, an interim town administrator contract. So easy that it's already happened once. Hope to have that, or we will definitely have that on the board's agenda for review and approval at your next meeting on December 15th. I've also reached out to a handful of human resources related firms to gauge interest and availability of bringing on a temporary part-time human resources consultant support effort to help assist with both all our recruitment efforts, but also the day-to-day personnel matters. And I hope to hear back from one of them within the next few days. And I have started with one firm who was a firm I also reached out to about the HR support, to give them the heads up that Dover will be looking for search firm support over the coming weeks as you plan to go out for a long-term replacement. So I think that that covers the main points on the transition planning. I'll make sure also make a point to give you an update on every subsequent meeting as to kind of all the pieces that are going on. Just a couple of things just to add to John's comments on Hale. I hadn't had an opportunity to check in with John on this yet, so this is the first time he'll be hearing it. But I had an opportunity to chat with Rob Warren from the trustees this afternoon about the communication plan, as the board had talked about the last time we met. He let me know about a couple of things that he's been working on to put in place to get the team together to start to build that out. So he's going to get back to me shortly with a more concrete timeline in which he can begin those efforts. And then on the legal front of things, town council has the conservation restriction document and is currently reviewing that document. So I think, sorry, my dog has kennel covered.
Oh my word, that sounds horrible.
Awful.
He's also 14 years old.
I clearly thought it was you.
Everything's just falling apart down here. So that's it on the transition. That's it on Hale. And then your next meeting will be a pretty busy one. The next few ones we've got, we'll have the budget wrapped up and presented to you, both just the selectmen's budgets, but also the larger picture for the overall FY24 and how that's shaping up. And then we'll also do a kind of a project and a goals update, which I think will be actually a nice point to do that, to kind of share an update of all the projects that still continue on, even with the couple of vacancies that we do have, which is good and reassuring. And that'll also kind of be a nice kind of transition point to take, hey, here's the progress to date through the year, and then Carl and the rest of the team can pick that up from there. So it'll certainly be a couple of busy board meetings over the next couple of weeks.
And the next meeting is December 15th, right?
Yes.
And then it's January 5th. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
all right. So then I'm going to move to the last item of business, which is our consent agenda. And that consists of approval of the police department state 911 grant, approval of 2022 special one-day liquor licenses for December 3rd, 4th, 6th, 10th, 11th, 2 on the 17th and the 18th, and then approval of the June 23rd, 2022 open session meeting minutes. So I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
I, Bob Springer.
Hi, John Jeffries.
And that wraps it up for our post-Thanksgiving meeting. Mr. Jeffries, bring gloves, bring warm socks, but enjoy the game.
Thank you very, very much. Thanks to everybody for their schedule accommodations this evening. As I said, my people from LA that are arriving tomorrow, they may not leave the car, but
Right. Well, my winter coat is no longer available for rental. It's taken out tomorrow morning. So.
Well, John, depending on the outcome of the game tomorrow night, you could be a hero or you could be the GOAT.
exactly.
All right, so I'm going to move to adjourn this meeting.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I'll second that emotion.
Okay, all in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springer.
Hi, John Jeffries.
Good
Okay,
night,
good
all.
night,
Thank you.
everyone.